This painting was created more than 500 years ago, exactly in the year 1500. At first glance, it seems harmless. You might think it's just a fool laughing hysterically, another madman from the Middle Ages, but the longer you stare at him, the more you realize that something feels off about this laughter. His expression is unsettling. It provokes discomfort, a sense of unease, but also an inevitable curiosity. What is he laughing at? Why does he cover his face, yet still peer through his fingers? None of the possible interpretations running through your mind are correct. The artist hid several subtle details, almost imperceptible at first glance, that slowly reveal a meaning far deeper than you might imagine. In Europe around the year 1500, when this painting was created, society was leaving the Middle Ages behind, but had not yet fully entered the Renaissance as we imagine it today. During this transitional period, the figure of the fool held a peculiar place. In carnivals, festivals, and even royal courts, there was always a fool. To the people, he was seen as the idiot, the madman, the one who dressed strangely and told inappropriate jokes, but also as the one who dared to say what others would not. In the mindset of the time, the fool was a kind of vessel for the grotesque, someone who embodied the foolish, sinful, or even demonic side of humanity. He was always laughing, speaking truths disguised as jokes, and playing with the idea that the entire world was absurd. And in an era when religion governed every aspect of life, that wasn't exactly funny. We could say the fool symbolized human foolishness itself. In fact, people didn't really see him as the one who makes others laugh, but as the personification of the Incipiens. The Incipiens is a biblical figure from Psalm 14:1, described as, "The fool says in his heart, there is no God." This didn't mean atheism in the modern sense, but rather someone who lived in denial of divine truth, rejecting the moral order of the world. The Incipiens was the symbol of arrogance, self-deception, and spiritual blindness, the one who mocks everything but understands nothing, the one who chooses not to see. In 1494, a German writer named Sebastian Brandt published an illustrated book that became a sensation of its time, The Ship of Fools. The title wasn't a metaphor, it literally depicted a parade of fools sailing together toward the land of folly. Each character represented a vice, greed, hypocrisy, arrogance, or human stupidity. Among all those fools, the Jester held a leading role. He was the guide, the symbolic captain of that ship, the one who laughs while everyone else makes a fool of themselves without realizing it. A few years later, in 1511, Erasmus of Rotterdam published The Praise of Folly, a book you might recognize from other videos since it inspired paintings like The Ugly Duchess. In this work, Erasmus turned the concept of the fool into a goddess named Folly. She spoke in the first person, mocking philosophers, kings, and clergymen, and even us, the readers. The message was clear. In one way or another, we are all part of the circus. For all these reasons, the fool wasn't a charming figure in his time. And let's not forget that in this period, it was said that God does not laugh. In the medieval Christian worldview, laughter was considered improper, a sign of imbalance. It was said that the devil laughed when man sinned, and that those who laughed too much probably didn't grasp the seriousness of life. So this fool, laughing with his mouth wide open, was not amusing at all. He was provocative. Now let's dive into the details of this painting, because it's not only strange for the expression of its protagonist, it's also a symbolic puzzle from the Middle Ages. The first thing to understand here is his hand. With it, the fool is covering his face, yet at the same time, he's peeking through his fingers. It's an odd gesture by today's standards, one we might associate with children, but back then it was instantly recognizable. In Dutch, there was an expression that said, to look through one's fingers, which basically meant to turn a blind eye, to ignore something that's right in front of you, to play the fool on purpose. And this is crucial, as you'll soon see. In the lower part of the painting, around his chest, there's an object the fool is pulling from his garment. A pair of spectacles, old, round, and lensless. The absence of lenses isn't a mistake. These glasses weren't meant to see, but to pretend to see. At the time, spectacles carried a negative connotation. Some wore them not to read, but to deceive, to sell illusions, to appear wise. In fact, there was a common German saying, to sell someone glasses, which meant to trick or swindle them, and this is where the painting starts to make sense. The fool isn't laughing at himself, nor at some hidden joke we can't see. He's laughing at us, at those who think themselves wise, at those who walk through life wearing their spectacles of erudition, convinced they understand everything, who have a theory for every event, an opinion for every topic, and an explanation for every mystery. It's ironic to say this while trying to analyze a painting like this one, but if we think about it, it fits perfectly. The fool has accepted his role. Dressed in an outfit like this, he knows no one will take him seriously. He wants to look like the fool, the one who knows nothing. He doesn't pretend to be anything he's not, and from that position, he can point at those still pretending to hold the truth in their hands. But beyond the mystery surrounding the meaning of this painting, the story of the artwork itself is just as intriguing as its content. For a long time, it was believed that this painting had been created by Jacob Cornelis van Oostsanen, a name not very well known today, but highly important in his time. He was one of the first great Renaissance painters in northern Holland. His workshop in Amsterdam, active in the early 16th century, produced everything from religious altarpieces to intricate engravings, proving that he was a master who knew exactly what he was doing. But here's the twist. It was probably not him who painted this work. The painting we've been analyzing is attributed to him as it appears in the records of the Davis Museum in the United States, where it has been kept since 1958. However, experts have debated for decades whether it was truly painted by Van Oostsanen or by someone else, an unknown artist who may have worked in his studio or imitated his style. One of the first to question this attribution was the art historian Guro Cavalli Björkman. In 1985, while studying a nearly identical painting at the National Museum of Stockholm, she noticed something intriguing. The gestures, colors, the same marotte over his shoulder, and even the same pair of spectacles were all there. The only difference was a slight change in the direction of the face, and interestingly, that wasn't the only copy. In total, at least 3 versions of this laughing fool are known to exist. 3 distinct yet almost identical paintings, each showing the same character laughing, wearing the same ridiculous outfit, and mocking the same idea. As if someone, or several people, had been determined to replicate that expression over and over again. Why repeat it? That's the big question. Kenneth Craig, another scholar of the subject, connected this painting to a broader tradition of visual proverbs. At the time, it was common for artists in this region to depict proverbs in humorous or even grotesque ways, much like Pieter Bruegel the Elder, who painted more than 120 proverbs in a single work, illustrating each one individually. So if this painting was meant to convey a moral message to the people, someone clearly made sure it would be seen. We may never know who the true author was. Perhaps it was a student of Van Oostsanen, or a lesser-known painter from northern Holland who faded into anonymity. But maybe that's not the point. What's truly fascinating isn't who painted the fool, it's what the fool was meant to tell us. Now I'd love to hear your thoughts on this painting. As always, this is my own interpretation, unique and personal. So if any of you have something to add about the meaning behind this extraordinary work, I'd be thrilled to read it in the comments. And if you'd like to collect this painting and hang it in your home, it's now available on our website. From the link in the description, you can order it directly and receive it with free worldwide shipping. There you'll also find over 700 historical artworks like this one, so you can choose your favorites and turn your home into your personal museum. Thank you to everyone who supports the channel. See you in the next video.